What is happening internally with entrepreneurs that don't take the avatar creation seriously?
They're just assuming too much. They're thinking, I know who my buyers are, and you probably don't. If you ask someone, what do your clients think about you? They'll say, well, 90 to 100% are pretty satisfied. That's never the case. It's always much lower than you would care to ever admit. If you send an anonymous survey to your clients and they knew they could speak freely, you'd probably lie awake a few nights after getting the results back, because we're not as good as we think we are most of the time.
Welcome to Unreasonable Autonomy. My name is Sarah Grace. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs and innovators who refuse to settle. Here we dive deep into raw, real conversations with boundary pushers who have pursued seemingly impossible ideas and yet have achieved unreasonable results, whether that's in their faith, relationships, health, politics, yes, even business. All of those conversations are happening right here, right now. So let's buckle up, because this isn't about playing it safe. Unreasonable ideas, unstoppable results. Let's go.
My dear listeners, you are in for a treat. Thrilled to welcome to the podcast, Kevin Donlin. Kevin Donlin is a marketing advisor for founders, presidents, and CEOs. He specializes in creating marketing campaigns using direct mail, FedEx letters, email, and more with his voice of the buyer marketing. Kevin has been in marketing since 1994, when he may have sold the very first ebook online. He was later webmaster for FedEx from 95 to 98, where he worked with the pioneers of online marketing. He's the author of 5 books, including Voice of the Buyer Marketing. He's been interviewed by Fox News, ABC TV, NBC TV, CBS Radio, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, Fortune, Entrepreneur Magazine, and way too many others to list here. You are in for a jam-packed conversation all about the voice of the buyer. Let's get talking with the amazing Kevin Donlin. Welcome back to the Unreasonable Autonomy podcast. You guys, full confession today, okay? There is a legitimate genius sitting straight. I am not kidding. Kevin Donlin, welcome to the room. I'm so glad that you're here.
Hi, Sarah. You have to stick to the truth, please. Let's just go with what is factually based. Beyond that, happy to be here.
Oh, well, let's talk about what is factually based, because our listeners, whether they're watching on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, they've already heard your incredibly impressive bio. Like, it just does not get more like, whoa, than that kind of bio. But let's talk about actual fact, because I actually feel like a student of yours, right? I was introduced to you by attending the Prime Mover Mastermind in Boise, Idaho, Russell Brunson's mastermind. And you were there as a speaker. Now, you were there virtually because you were sick. Are you remembering this?
Yes. I remember the 3 days of agonizing pain leading up to it and after it, sure. But it was fun.
Oh, my word. And this is so Kevin, my listeners. Yeah, but it was really fun, right? I was like on death's door, but I went and taught, 50 entrepreneurs and hundreds online as well. But let's talk about some actual facts there, because you gave us a gift. In fact, you gave us like 3 gifts. We were able to get your book, which I have read cover to cover. And Great. Second, you also gave us access to this incredible, we'll talk about this focus group thing that you have, and we'll share that with our audience a little bit later. And then you also gave us the opportunity to meet with you to talk about our experience with the focus group, if we had questions, and we got to meet with you one-on-one, which I absolutely signed up for, and we did that. Are we factually accurate so far?
It's so far so good. Yeah. Yeah. Keep going.
Okay. And so let's talk about where the word genius comes from. All right. So I build webinars for a living, and I specifically build webinars that convert really well with the female market. So I was super intrigued to see what could I do with this focus group that could help me be more effective, that could help me use their language, quicker. I'm a mom of 4, right? Like nobody's got time to mess around when you've got a family to take care of. How can this help me be more efficient? And so what I did is I met with you, I took all of your advice, and I started to work with this, AI digital focus group in order to promote my next big kind of promotion. And I split test it. I said, this is Sarah's brain. This is me going after my instinct and promoting it in this way to my audience. And then I am going to use, pretty much 90% of what your focus group told me to do. And do you want to just take a guess which performed better?
No, I'd love to hear the answer.
Okay. So the only reason I would bring this up is if your focus group actually performed better during the launch, right? And it was actually pretty incredible because it was one of our biggest just email only launches that we've ever done, but it was only with that B group, the one that was split test and used the data with the focus group. And so we had a 26% increase in sales compared to the A group just by me running through existing, content and pages and emails and all this kind of stuff through your focus group. So I would dare say we are staying with fact that you are a genius.
That's terrific, Sarah. I'm so happy to hear that you got a lift. I just got an email an hour ago from a woman who's in the same room as you. I could read from it. It's pretty cool. She's seen some pretty cool results too. Yeah. It's very gratifying to hear that.
So I actually want to I would imagine our audience may be new to your world. Some of them may be new to your world.
Sure.
I was new to your world when I showed up in Boise. And so what got you into this world of really wanting to understand avatars? Like, how did you fall into that accidentally? Did you decide at the age of, 16, that was going to be your world? How did you get into the world of incredible avatar creation and the importance of that in the business?
So avatars and focus groups, it's all part of a bigger concept called marketing. So I've been a marketing advisor and a direct response copywriter for about 30 years now. And the idea is if no one's listening to your message, no one's going to buy from you. If no one's paying attention, you've got nothing. So it's a matter of crawling into the heads of people, understanding how they think, what they want, and then just writing a message that lands with them. And previously, it's just been my way of doing my work. I've always gone very deep into customer testimonials, transcripts of sales calls. I want to hear what people are actually saying. And when I can get into those words and get into that voice when I'm writing, ideally my message lands like a referral from one person talking to another, not as a pitch coming from a business. Because when we get pitched, our sales shields go up. But when you hear a referral, Sarah, I'm looking for a lawn service. Who would you recommend? And if you tell me, I have no sales resistance to that because I'm talking to a peer or a friend or a neighbor. And you're going to say things about this lawn service. If I visited their website, I wouldn't probably see any of that stuff on their website because they're inside the bottle trying to read a label. They're inside the business trying to describe themselves. So my secret, one of them, to any success I have is the messaging I write for my clients. I try very hard to make it sound like a referral written in the language of peers talking to each other about the business. That's kind of the quick background on, why I've been able to have success over 30 years. The bigger idea is I work based on trial and error and error and error and error. And eventually I run out of things to do wrong. And, I get a hit. And so let me give you an example. So, in the old days, this is before AI, this is a letter that mailed nationwide for 5 years. It's got 4 pages, self-mailed. Helped my client grow from 15 million in annual sales to 102 million in about 5, 6, 7 years. And so it was a good letter. And I can say that without bragging because most of it I didn't write. I was listening to dog owners specifically talking about their problems. You can't read this. You don't have to. About 40% of that letter is either testimonials that I inserted strategically or headlines or copy or other words taken directly from what people were saying about the business. And again, when I dive deep into something, I'm also a dog parent. And so I visited their stores and listened to other dog owners. I was a spy. Then I also listened to the dog owners on my block talking about stuff. And so this is all just going into my brain. And then my tactic up until the invention of AI, which is relevant to our conversation today. I used to have to sleep on these things like 3 nights in a row. I'd read testimonials and sleep on them and then wake up in the morning and then start writing. And so by the third day, I was really marinating in this language, and I was able to write, pretty effective stuff. So my old way of writing before I came up with the idea of a digital focus group was to take weeks and dive very deep into the stuff. And I still take a lot of time on big projects, but one of the reasons this letter landed so well was because we actually commissioned some research from some dog owners, and it cost them $10,000. And we thought that was a bargain because the market was so big. And so the ideas that we'll talk about today, they have a very real minimum value of $10,000 because that's what it would cost to assemble a group of potential buyers and ask them questions and get their answers and then use their wording in your messaging. So you saw the 26 or so % lift. Yeah, so that's what can happen.
Oh, it is really pretty miraculous, especially because we're living in a day and age where you were saying this can happen so much faster. Like, yes, it's got $10,000 value, and I stand behind that wholeheartedly just based upon my one test case, right, with your digital focus group. But we also are in a space where you can gather data so much faster. And when I was talking to people that I was going to be interviewing you, that was actually one of their questions is what if I'm at the earlier stages of wanting to test a new product or a new offer, is a focus group or a digital focus group a good first step for me, or do I need to be pretty deep into my business and really understand who my person is and have that proof of concept and proof of sales and all those things? Or can that focus group actually help me create and angle the offer from the very beginning?
The answer is yes. They're self-reinforcing. Yeah, when you get the focus group, it'll help you with the offer and it'll help you go out and find more material. So it's a self-reinforcing thing. It all starts with, you really need to have a viable business. So for a startup, you can certainly, let's talk about what goes into the focus group first and then how you would use it. I think that would be useful to people. So, you could ask ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or Gemini, hey, I'm thinking of, I want to sell shower caps for cats. What do you think of that? And they'll go, brilliant. There's a market of $100 trillion. Everyone on earth owns a cat on average. And I love it. Well, the problem is cats hate showers, and they're not going to use the damn thing. Sorry, I swore. So, but the point is, where you start with your focus group is real testimonials or online reviews from your clients. If you don't have them, you can certainly find a business that's very similar to yours and maybe use those as a starting point. But you really want to start with input that's coming from your business. So I always start with, what are your reviews on LinkedIn or Google or whatever? What are people saying about you now? Even your books on Amazon, that counts. So just gather together. I call them reviews or testimonials, but they can come in different forms. On LinkedIn, they're called recommendations. So look for those. The second area to look at would be if you can get them transcripts from Zoom calls or phone calls, transcripts, long conversations, 15, 20, 30 minutes. This obviously goes beyond a review or a testimonial, but transcripts are so easy to get now. And they're invaluable because people are going to say in conversation things that they just won't say. If you ask someone to write a testimonial, it's going to be completely different than what they'll tell you on the phone. Completely different. I can just tell you that as a copywriter. And it's not because people are incompetent writers. We have a writing vocabulary and then we have a speaking vocabulary. They're not the same.
Right.
So when you can record people talking, it's invaluable. So if you've got testimonials about you on YouTube, there's a transcript there. If you've got phone calls from the dinosaur days, that can be transcribed. If you've got a Zoom, Teams, whatever, those come with transcripts. So really the two minimum ingredients would be customer reviews, testimonials, and then transcripts. If you can find no transcripts, just start with the customer testimonials. That's, the proton that makes an atom for you. But if you can expand, include transcripts, and then I like to include case studies. Those are kind of a medium. They're longer than a testimonial, but they're not 20 pages like a transcript. So case studies are also good. But with those kinds of examples of what people are saying about you, the results you help them get, you can then include those. The format is a custom GPT. And so that is a data bank of things people are saying. It's invaluable. And that's like the first part of this. And the second part would be I'm just trying to think of what goes into the focus group that's going to be concise here. You want to include what I call personas, digital personas. 30 is a good statistical minimum. In fact, 30 is what I recommend. You want to take an ideal client persona or an avatar. Most people who are in business and successful, you've got a concept of who your ideal client is. You've got a 1-page, 3-page, 5-page description. I'm sure you do. And everyone in the room that I was teaching in Boise had an ideal client profile, and ICP is what it's often called, or an avatar. If you've got that, you can instruct ChatGPT you can just tell it, and I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but it's really hard to mess this up because the tools are so advanced now. This is my ideal client. I want you to generate 30 synthetic or digital versions of this ideal client with minimal variations. I want them to be similar but not identical. Vary the age between this range. You just give it the instructions, and you may have to go back and forth and have an actual chat with your tool. But what you should get back would be 30 examples of people who are very similar to your ideal client. With those 30 personas, you've got a focus group. So you load that into the knowledge files of your custom GPT, and then you also load in the reviews, the case studies, the transcripts. And at that point, you've got a group of people who are similar to your ideal client. And then the language that they'll be speaking to you in is taken directly from your actual clients or buyers, as the case may be. So with those two main parts, the language that they've used about you, and then 30 personas who could be speaking and thinking like that, boom, that's where you can really see some cool things.
And it is fascinating to me as someone who, quote unquote, prior to being introduced to your world, took a lot of pride in really understanding how to communicate to my clients. And we've had some good success and all of those things. It was fascinating to put in things like sales pages or sales copy or emails that I was going to be sending out and just say, Kate, how do you feel about this? And give me some feedback here if there's anything that would help you feel more encouraged or to whatever it may be. And it was fascinating to hear it spit out. And as a human, the human experience of seeing it is you're kind of like, well, no. And you're a little bit defensive. You get defensive about, I'm not sure that it's specifically understanding or it doesn't understand this nuance. But the proof in the pudding was that the stuff that had been put through a focus group performed better, right? And so my question with this is, I imagine every person listening here has taken some sort of marketing course or workshop or masterclass or one-on-one, whatever it may be. And the first exercise is always, who do you serve? Let's talk about serve. And let's also recognize that every listener here has probably either done it halfway or skipped that section of the book or kind of just given the full force behind it. What is happening internally with entrepreneurs that don't take the avatar creation seriously? What do you observe?
Oh, well, they're just assuming too much. They're thinking, I know who my buyers are, and you probably don't. It's like, if you ask someone, what do your clients think about you? They'll say, well, 90 to 100% are pretty satisfied. That's never the case. It's always much lower than you would care to ever admit. If you send an anonymous survey to your clients and they knew they could speak freely, you'd probably be lie awake a few nights after getting the results back, because we're not as good as we think we are most of the time. And so when it comes to who we serve, we're not as clear as we think we are most of the time. And so, if there's any magic to this, it's that they're going to say things. One of the questions I like to ask any focus group that I set up is, what are they thinking, but they won't tell me face to face? That's a really cool question, because you couldn't get a straight answer if you were talking to humans in a room. This is a case where the digital focus group is actually more useful or more insightful than a live focus group. Because if you're talking to 30 people in a room, what's your biggest fear, Sarah? What are you most reluctant to tell me? You're going to say, well, I'm just a I'm such a perfectionist. I hate to, it's like a job interview. You're going to just BS your way.
I work too hard.
Yeah, I work so hard. Yeah. So, I mean, if you can get those kinds of answers from your focus group, that's invaluable. It's so, and the bigger idea here too, is it's not a magic bullet. I have not invented the replacement for the mousetrap, but what this is, and the reason is that you cannot delegate your thinking, your experience, your wisdom, your lived experience. You still have to trust your gut. And it'll give me headlines that are not quite right, but I'll make a tweak, and that's a good headline. So you just have to not take everything as gospel. Just look at the feedback that you get, the output, and then decide, because you're the business owner, the entrepreneur. So you're the human in the loop. And as long as you have that in mind, it's going to be very insightful for you, whatever the results are that you get.
I would agree with that. And I'm assuming that you have met with multiple people, probably from that Boise Mastermind and other people beyond, about this digital focus group. What have been some of the ahas that some of those early adapters have experienced while using it?
It's funny. So I just got an email an hour ago from a woman who's in the room with you. And this was she actually sent me a longer email 3 days ago, and I was kind of blown. So I'm going to, from her earlier email 3 days ago, she said that she ran her whole webinar script through her focus group, and it said the intro's too long, change it and whatever. And she took most of the advice. She got her first sale after 4 unsuccessful webinars. So she made a sale after changing her script. So that was a nice result. Beyond that, she said that she created a lead magnet and got her first lead magnet conversion that she's ever had using the focus group. I'm just reading off the email. She says her social media posts are so much easier now. I'm getting more traction and more comments in just 2 days. And that's one person. I've spoken to other people. People are saying things like it's faster, it's easier, it's insightful. I never would have thought of this. But in my view, the proof is in the pudding. So I was delighted to hear your 26% increase. For one of my clients, we sold $500,000 of capital equipment in 30 days, and largely because I fixed his offer. And I ran his offer through a focus group. I said, what do you like about this? What do you dislike? What's confusing? What could we explain better? Kind of those are the 3 questions: like, dislike, confusion. And I'm just, visually showing his original offer was like this, and it was all over the map. And I kind of shrunk it and put in bullet points based solely on the input of the focus group. And it was doing well, but, online, but he never tried anything offline. So we sent the same offer, improved by the digital focus group, did $534,000 in 30 days. And to date, we're over 900,000 about 6 months later. And that is the offer, as you probably know, is probably the most important part of any promotion. And so by clarifying the offer, and I could have done that, it had taken me 2 weeks and I would have had a headache 3 nights in a row. I mean, I'm not an incompetent copywriter, but it frees me up to just fine tune the good results that I get from the focus group. And that's a clear win for my client. And I've had others like that. Big lifts in email open rates, for example. But again, this is all based on just something I made up. This was a Stanford white paper I ran into late last year that I reverse engineered. And I just basically said, and it was about getting, feedback from synthetic personas. And I said, I would like to use this to create focus groups. And we went back and forth. Obviously, ChatGPT and Claude helped a lot. But I decided if this works at a theoretical level, what would happen if we made it practical for entrepreneurs? And it's been a wild ride. The version I taught you is about 5.0. And I'm now on 6.0 since you and I first met. So it's always evolving. And feedback from users like you is critical for that.
Well, and I love that, again, that's a principle that you live by of be unafraid of feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be unafraid of what people are saying, right? I mean, that's clearly a hugely important part of what's made your longevity in the business world what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the iteration is critical. Good is better than still in my head and not on paper. And perfection may happen, but it's the iteration, which is critical. And again, everything is so sped up with AI. You can iterate. I mean, I'm in a sales letter that I'm writing internally. It's probably version 4.0 right now. And it's only taken me a couple of days. It would have taken me a couple of months, and it's mentally, it does a lot of the mentally taxing work for you so that you have more You're not cognitively overloaded and ready to just pass out on your keyboard at 3 p.m. It's nice to have a lot of the heavy lifting done for you. And then you come in. In football terms, AI can get you to the red zone pretty fast, to the 20-yard line. And then you, the smart human, come in and you're on the 20-yard line. You should be able to score 3 points, 7 points, something.
Yes. And I'll add my testament to that, but that's what I felt like. I felt like it got me maybe 90% of the way there, right? It really was just a polish, right? And we did it very, very fast. I mean, we literally within a matter of days were split testing and just thought, look, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. This is email based. Let's go and let's make it happen. So along that same line where you talk about just the amount of speed that can be so beneficial for an entrepreneur because of AI, you are you are a visionary in that sense that you had the skill set of copywriting and taking months, if not years, to develop sales letters and copy and all this kind of stuff through brick and mortar and online and all of the things. And then AI enters the world, right? At what point did you ever have a time in which you're like, AI is going to take my job versus AI is exactly what I want to link arms with. I know this is the future. Like, what was your attitude towards it as it started to take this sweeping motion across the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am fortunate. I was president at the start of we called it electronic commerce marketing in 1995, e-commerce, whatever. And I worked for FedEx.com. I don't know if this was part of the bio I gave you, but my client at FedEx, I was their webmaster from 1995 to 1998, I believe. It was a 3-year span. And so the long and the short of it is I saw, websites, e-commerce. And I actually sold an ebook in 1994 on a thing called Usenet, which is a big precursor of Reddit. So I have been fortunate to see things and go. And so when I saw AI about 3 years ago, I wasn't scared at all. I was excited because to me, this is as big a jump as 1995 when I saw there's this thing called the web. And, the internet was so small back then that they had something called the internet yellow pages. There were no search engines. The websites could be numbered and counted and printed. And so I threw them out. I should have kept them, stacks of internet yellow pages for years because there were so few websites. If you wanted to find a website, you would look through the yellow pages. And so the funny thing is that things are changing so fast now. What used to take years and months 30 years ago, it's now days, weeks. It's incredible. So, we all have a new job, no matter what our primary job is as entrepreneurs or business owners. That second job is learner, student, lifelong student. I spend an hour a day learning AI or experimenting with it. And it's probably the most valuable hour I spend. And on Saturdays, it could be longer, or maybe I'm watching football on TV, but it's just part of my job description now is spend an hour a day learning AI and making it. I always experiment on me first. I'm lab rat number one. So I always, that's where I was first trying out voice of the buyer digital focus groups. And I thought this is working. And so I showed it to some other people and everyone I've showed it to has been excited about it. So it's pretty cool discovery.
Incredible. And in a way for entrepreneurs, whether they're early in the game or they feel like, they're thinking of, selling their business or whatever it may be, AI is so how do I say this? Regardless if they're early in the game or they're really, really late in the game and they're looking forward to selling, the reality is AI has leveled the playing field, right? It's almost like when ads came out on Facebook and Instagram, all of a sudden you didn't need the $20 million to get a Super Bowl ad, right? Like you could literally spend dollars a day to try and get in front of people. And so it's very much an equalizer. And I imagine that with AI coming out and it becoming an equalizer and being available to so many businesses, there could be feelings out there. In fact, this came from one of the people that we talked to before they knew we were interviewing you. They were just saying, but when everybody has access to AI and everybody has access to a focus group, does it really level the playing field or does it just make us all the same? And so what's going to make your output and use of AI, take you to the moon and back versus someone else that's trying to use AI? Like, how can we wield it?
Great question. So it's an accelerant. It's like gasoline. And so question is, what fire do you want to fuel? Do you want to, is something going to get out of control and burn down your business because all your social media posts are fake? Yeah, you've spread, but you're in a couple of days or weeks, all of a sudden you've got ashes because your stuff is not genuine. So I think the opportunity here is to, again, use AI to get you 80 to 90% there, but come in and fine tune things. There should be a human in the loop almost all the time. If something is facing buyers, prospects, clients, it's got to sound human. And so nothing gets past me that I don't fine tune personally. And it's not being a perfectionist. It's just being a genuine, real person and respecting your audience. Beyond that, making sure that all this stuff is fine tuned and is actually what you would say. And you can just see it too. You can see it. I can see it. I go on LinkedIn and 80% of my feed is clearly AI generated. My respect for those people goes down by a notch every time. Everything that I do on LinkedIn or anywhere on social media, I'm only on LinkedIn really. I don't have time or a need because I work largely on referrals, but everything that's on LinkedIn went through me first. And I'll even take time to change the formatting because as someone who works with words all day, every day, people can spot the formats even if they can't articulate why they know it's AI generated. People are smarter than they think they are in terms of recognizing patterns. And so, something's not going to pass the smell test, then don't let it go. So that's just online. But here's the opportunities to go offline. When we talked about my client who made $534,000 a month, it was with a FedEx sales letter. So guess what? There's no FedEx sales library where I can download my clients' ads because it's invisible to them because it's offline. So everything you're doing online is going to be scooped up by an AI chat bot and it's going to go into the hopper and it's going to come out on your competitors' stuff eventually. They can see all your funnels. It's all visible, but anything you can do offline with people, that is invisible to your competitors. And anything that arrives on paper, it's tangible, it's real. It just gets more credibility and there's no downside to it except you have to pay a few bucks per letter. But if you've got the right list of prospects or clients, it's going to pay for itself because none of your competitors are there. No one's doing anything offline by and large. And so that's the real opportunity. So this is a very long-winded answer. When everyone has AI, my question to you is, who else is in the mailbox? Who else is in a room? I was supposed to be in a room with you folks in Boise. That's something I love to do. And so who's in the room with your prospects? Who's in the mailbox for your prospects? The answer is going to be a very small number of competitors.
Incredible. So I love that you talk about this idea of like, well, why don't you get into the mailbox? And in fact, that was a recommendation, which I was a good student, right? And sent 45 letters out based upon some correspondence with that recommendation of yours. But I bring it back to this principle of there is always a way to find an edge, right? Mm-hmm. And if right now it feels really noisy online, back in the day, our heart would jump when we would see a personal email show up. You'd get that ding, you've got mail, and that was the feeling. That is no longer the feeling. Like we are post Black Friday and I don't even want to open my, right? But quite literally 48 hours after you and I met and talked about your digital focus group, what came in the mail? You guys, a thank you letter from Kevin. What is happening? And I would say that gave me the same ping as, 20 years ago when I got a personal email. And so we're constantly looking for those ways simply to reach people. Like you said at the very beginning of our interview, we are in marketing, right? Mm-hmm. We have got to capture people's attention and connect with people. And AI doesn't need to be a threat of it because you've got a mailbox, right? And when it felt like everything was happening with mail, then we all went online. Like in a way, it seems like the game has changed, but the purpose.
The pendulum is swinging back. It has been for a while, but I'm glad that you got it so fast because we're not in neighboring states. But it's impossible to botch a thank you note. So the world's easiest sales letter to write is a thank you note because it builds trust. It's a connection. There's no downside to a thank you note. And if people are scratching their heads, and they often are, how do I use direct mail? Start with a thank you note. I'll give you a bonus tip that has nothing to do with my digital focus group. It's a concept called a paper email. I accidentally invented it, I think. I mean, I've gotten them since, but 15 years ago, I did what did I do? I wanted to send Seth Godin a thank you email after I saw him speak live. We had a quick chat after. He wouldn't remember me, but I just said, thank you, Seth. And I was about to hit send. I said, wait a minute. Right now, 200 other people are sending an email to Seth Godin. And so I printed it and found his mailing address on the website and mailed it. I said, this is a paper email. And he called me like 3 days later. He said, I got your nice note. He called me from his car phone. I'm dating it. It's not that long ago, but Seth Godin found time to call me. And so that's interesting. So I've been sending paper emails ever since. And so if you don't know how to write a sales letter, yes, you do. Just take your last email that you sent that got ignored, print it, put it in a thank you note, which has 100% open rate, just like FedEx. No one throws out a square envelope, and say, thank you for reading this paper email, Sarah. And then it's just, you can put a post-it on it, get creative, have fun. No one is sending a thank you note. No one is sending a paper email except you, if you take this weird little tip.
Incredible. You are so full of the tips and tricks and also the meat and the potatoes of how we really serve the people that we feel called to serve. I am so grateful. And you are so kind. You have got a free voice of the buyer cheat sheet generator. And so when our people look down in the show notes, go down, you can go and access that, and that will show you a way which you can better connect with Kevin and be involved in his world and see what he does. Is there anything else that you would have them dive into after now that they are completely convinced that they need?
Well, yeah, visit my website, www.clientcloningsystems.com. You'll find the cheat sheet. It's a link in the upper right-hand side. Connect with me on LinkedIn, too. I'm there every day. That's normally where I hang out. And LinkedIn, just search for me. You'll know me when you see me, and connect. And I'd love to expand our mutual networks and meet some of your listeners. And thank you, Sarah, for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
An absolute joy. In typical Unreasonable Autonomy fashion, thank you so much to the amazing Kevin Donlin for being here. I will just say it. I know it makes you uncomfortable. I really do. You think you have strokes of genius in you. I really, really do. And I'm grateful for everything that you've been willing to share with our listeners. There is one question that I ask every single guest at the end of our interview, and this is it. What is one book that every single entrepreneur must read, and you can't say your own?
Oh, well, I would not say my own. One book. So I've got a big library here. I mean, I like anything by Dan Kennedy. I'm going to give you a weasel word answer. Anything by Dan Kennedy, because he's written so many. There's something that's going to speak to you if you're a business owner and you really want to, an entrepreneur, and you really want to make your marketing pay. Dan helped me pay off my mortgage. I always tell him this 25 years early. So that was a nice 5-year run ahead, thanks to Dan. And he always remembered that. He said, yeah, you told me that. But I mean, so anything by Dan Kennedy is my answer.
I love it. Well, a huge thank you from me personally, and also the listeners that have been able to just, really dive into this world of avatar creation and a digital focus group. Please connect with Kevin online. You can see his links below. And thank you again to the amazing Kevin Donlin for being here. Thanks again.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Sarah, so much.
Thank you for listening to the Unreasonable Autonomy podcast. If you loved this episode, my guests and I would love to hear about it. Go to the show notes to reach out and let me know what resonated with you or what topics or guests you want to hear in the future. I am here to create for you. Look, I deeply admire your commitment to pushing boundaries and going after an unreasonable life. Keep dreaming big, taking bold steps, and expecting the unreasonable. For more, go to the show notes to dive deeper into the conversations that will keep you going. Thanks for being here.